Hello and welcome to the Clyde FC Podcast live. Yep, you heard me right, we're doing this live, and with me, as usual, we have John Boyce. Boycey, how are you?
How are we doing? Not too bad. Trying this live thing out.
See where it goes. We might just have faces for radio after all. Nick, how about yourself? How you doing?
I'm alright, Paul. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Apologies to those that were looking forward to this last week, if you were indeed looking forward to it last week. We had to put it back, obviously, due to illness, and hopefully that's us over that. We do have a couple of matches to look back on. It's not going to be pretty, unfortunately. We went from bad to worse, let's be quite frank. We will end the show, hopefully, on a slightly more positive note, looking back at the memorable 2019 playoff victory against Annan Athletic. But first, let's get the dirty work out of the way. Airdrie 5, Clyde 0. It is exactly as it says in the tin. It was horrific. It was a bit of a pasting, quite frankly. It was our worst defeat since we lost to Rangers 8-1 in the Challenge Cup or League Cup.
That was a sore one.
That was. And it's our worst league defeat since May 2012. And I'll give you a cookie if you can tell me the team that beat us that day.
I believe it's the team we're going up to face this week.
It is indeed, John. It's Montrose. So
I'll take that cookie.
No, I'll give you after the 3-week lockdown.
That's fair. That's cool. Mail it out.
Yeah, there's probably a lot to say about this match, but not a lot in the positive. Who wants to take it first?
I'll give it a wee go. The positive man in the chat, so to speak. I remember saying to you boys that we started off really well, and I thought this was going to be our week. How wrong could I have been? I think when you look at Airdrie, on their good day, they can do exactly what they did to us. They're a full-time kind of hybrid team. They've got good finances, certainly better than us. And yeah, they just outperformed us on the day. I think it was one of the ones where they had a fantastic day and we had a very off day. And the scoreline reflects that. Just a poor all-round performance, I think. I'm sure the boys know that. And yeah, we would have hoped that it would have got better, but as we'll come to talk about in a bit, it may have gotten a little better, but not too much. Nick, what's your thoughts?
No, I agree with much of that. There just didn't seem to be any sort of like real strategy going into it. There was a lot of like just hoofing the ball aimlessly up the park, which I feel like on occasion like works off good. He can like turn players and stuff like that, and that can occasionally work. But Airdrie, give them their credit, were fantastic defensively, and that Sabatini as well in the middle. I thought that again, it's the same as the Dumbarton game, is that we are crying out for a defensive midfielder. And as we'll come out to talk about, I actually think that Lloyd Robertson has looked really good against Kilmarnock. But yeah, the performance was exceptionally poor. There's no way getting around it. The players will know that. Danny definitely knows that. And the good thing about this Clyde's team that we have at the moment and the backroom staff is that this is something we'll learn from. It's not going to be. I doubt very much it's going to be something that's going to beat us down. I don't see us getting beaten by like anything close to this for the rest of the season. Maybe
hopefully not.
Let's hope
let's not tempt fate just yet. But yeah, I agree with what you're saying. If there's one thing we've learned from a Danny Lennon Clyde team since he came to us, that we're probably at our most dangerous when our back's against the wall. And I think at that point against Airdrie, when the fifth goal went in, I don't know how long was left, but it felt like an eternity, quite frankly. I was just praying for the full-time whistle. We probably all were. There was nothing. I've got nothing positive to take other than David Mitchell had a good game. which, considering he conceded 5 in, I think it does emphasise just how poor and insipid we were on the day.
Yeah, definitely. Going on next point of Sabatini, I thought he had a brilliant game. He kind of ran that midfield, and I was really impressed with Robert as well. I thought those two boys had, a lot of free roam and just tore us up in the middle. And again, that highlights the need for a defensive midfielder. Now, we had kind of spoken about, is Tom Lang that person? For me at the moment, I don't think so. I think we need his pace at the back, as we kind of touched on just before this. So I think work to be done, but Robertson kind of looks like the boy that can step in just now from the future games. And it was a difficult game. One positive that I'm going to take from it is my ability to give Marcella team talk at halftime to watch that second half.
I think we all needed a bit of a convincing to do. On the midfield, obviously, there's been a couple of comments already saying that we were a bit overrun. It was quite similar against Dumbarton, not to the same degree, given the scorelines. The one thing that I've taken from our midfield is it's a very, very young midfield. I think out of the listed midfielders on the website, I think Barry Cudahy's the oldest, and he himself is 24, maybe 25.
Yeah,
off the top of my head. So there's not a lot of experience in there, and a lot of the boys we've brought in are young, so they will be learning in the job, but they're learning at a much harsher level than we have previously. League Two, you get away with a lot more, as we found early doors last season when we went up to Kirkcaldy and we came back with our tail between our legs after a 5-2 defeat. 5-2 probably flattered us that day. I think that's fair to say. So it's a very unforgiving League One, and it will only continue to be that way given the teams that are in the league this year.
Yeah, I think we can see that every team on they can beat each other, and that makes for a great competitive league for neutrals to watch. But for us, it's kind of nail biting.
Yeah.
But no, hopefully we can kick on, and kind of the international break's given a wee chance for us to kind of, look at things and get better. So
regroup.
Yeah.
Take stock. So yeah, anything else you want to talk about on the Airdrie game, or are we quite happy to draw a line under it and forget that it ever happened, if we can?
I never want to talk about it again. Just hopefully move on.
I know. I do have one thing before we move on to the cup games. So a wee positive spin on things.
Go on,
with 13, well, some Clyde fans might think that it's all doom and gloom and it's really bad, and it may look like that. But with 13% of the season gone compared to the same amount of time last season, because obviously we've got the shortened season this time, we're 2 points worse off than we were at this stage last year, and we managed to turn it round. And I don't think any Clyde fan wants to see Danny Lennon leave. They're all behind him, and there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
We know that he can do a job, and he's a very good manager with Alan Moore. So I'm in that camp. I think we can turn it round, and I think that starts tomorrow against Montrose.
That's what we like to hear. Just for anyone watching, you obviously can get involved. Please leave your comments and your thoughts on the matches. Obviously, as we discuss them, we will read out your best comments. Keep them clean, obviously. So moving forward, a couple of days later, you beat 5-0. You're looking for a wee confidence boost, and we face top flight opposition in the League Cup at home against Kilmarnock. So it never rains but it pours. However, what I would say the biggest take I had from it was that it was a very much improved performance all round. The biggest thing for me was the impact that Ross Cunningham had. I think coming back into the starting lineup, he had missed a couple of games through injury, or he hadn't played full 90 minutes. The impact that he had I thought was pretty significant. Any thoughts, guys? Or awkward silence?
I was waiting for Nick. I think we missed him against Dumbarton. I think it maybe threw the team off a wee bit with the lateness of it. Still not sure what the issue was, but certainly good to have him back. We spoke in the first couple of episodes about how we were all big Ross Cunningham fans, and how well he does on the wing and how he can have the beating of his man. And we really want that front three, Cunningham, Goodwillie and Love, on the pitch at all times. So seeing him back was really good. That was a positive I took from it. I actually thought we played some really nice football against Kelly. Considering they were higher league opposition, we passed the ball about, we got it into wide areas and got the ball in the box, and I don't think we've been doing enough of that recently. Goody had a few chances, should have probably put them away. I think he's been in a wee dip in form recently, but we see that from him, and then he comes back with a vengeance. So hopefully he comes back soon. Yeah, David, if you're watching, please score.
Please. Yeah, Nick, what about yourself in the Kelly game?
I agree with most of that. I think that one thing we realised for the Kelly game and the Dunfermline game is that Mark Lamont is integral, in my opinion, to the way that we play. Like we were speaking before we went live and stuff like that about him playing those through balls into David Goodwillie. I think he's just got that. He's obviously played with Goodwillie for a number of years now. He's got that experience. He's one of the more experienced members of the squad that we've got at the moment. I think he was really good. He was pressing well. That's one thing that we were doing. We were getting out and we were getting in Kilmarnock's face, and that allowed us to make these sort of interceptions and get on the front foot. Obviously, we end up losing in the end, but after watching that game, I felt much better than what I did after the Airdrie game. Yeah,
I mean, it certainly wouldn't have been difficult to feel better than after the Airdrie game, but yeah, there was a lot more positivity in what we were seeing. Not just individual performances, but I think as a cohesive unit, we defended better. Going forward, we created far more than we've probably seen over the last 3 games combined. Just a comment you can see just coming in from Kyle Arbuckle, probably touching upon there's been a fair degree of changes, some forced and some unforced, in the starting lineups. Is it maybe a case that at this stage of the season, Danny's maybe still trying to get a feel for what his best 11 is?
I think on paper he maybe knows it. I think one of the reasons for the flat performance is genuinely the fact that fans aren't back. We all know that when the Clyde fans kind of get that voice up, the players definitely take a lift from it, and they've said that. So I think that's definitely got a good play, on what's been happening. I think the consistency is an issue. We've been consistently poor, which isn't what we want. But yeah, I trust in Danny to sort it, and I think he does know his best 11. I think the team kind of picks itself most weeks for me. I don't know what you boys think, but
I think that picking a best 11, particularly in the attacking options, is really difficult, because we have a lot of players that on paper and on the park in their time have had really, really good spells, have been played really well. I mean, I think Sivertson is. I love the fact that we have Sivertson. I think he's a fantastic football player. I think that Cunningham is excellent. I really like Johnson as well, as much as he's maybe not had a great couple of games this season. I think that he's a fantastic football player, and his skill with the ball is frightening at times. So I think that I don't know if it's possible to have a sort of best 11. I think it does just have to come off the back of people's form and whatnot. But at the moment, it seems as a collective we're quite flat.
It's maybe Danny going off the hot hand kind of approach. Who's been on form and who's not. But you kind of want that competitiveness in the squad, because you want the players to kind of push each other to get to that next level. And for some reason, I don't feel it's there now. But hopefully with the goals we scored against Dunfermline, that's maybe a positive. What do you boys think of the Dunfermline performance?
Well, for 60 minutes, I thought we were very good. I thought, on the whole, in control of the game. Dunfermline had chances, but there was another marked improvement from me from what we'd even saw against Kelly. Certainly better than Airdrie. Not just the fact that we scored twice, and there was maybe a degree of fortune over the first goal, but I would flip that and argue that I think it was Ross Cunningham that kind of pushed the defender, not pushed the defender, they charged down the defender and won the header that put Ali through. So you make those chances out of nothing, and it's great. The second half started well, again, looked well in control. Second goal, I genuinely thought that was it. Now, I doubt the players thought that too. Dunfermline needed something from the game. They had to get at least a point, I think, to qualify. Yeah. And if they won, they topped the group as a top seed. So they'd be seeded in the next round draw. So they still had something to play for. And I think if we bet them, they could have went out completely and Falkirk would have went through in their place, which would have went down like a lead balloon in the Pars faithful, would imagine. So Dunfermline threw everything at us. I mean, you've got to look at the players that they brought on. The boy Dom Thomas, fantastic player for championship level. Many feel maybe didn't get a look in at Kelly, could have even done a job in the Premiership for them. So he came on and made a marked difference to them. And the second they got the penalty, I started watching through my hands, I'll be honest. I just had a bad feeling. It's the fragility of our confidence just now.
Yeah, I think there's definitely progress there. I mean, going from a 5-0 defeat to Airdrie to competing with a kind of very good Dunfermline team on a hot streak.
Yeah, they'd only lost one of their 9 matches, I think.
Yeah, they've been doing really well. So.
I mean, it was a considerable task we were facing, and up to the 60-minute mark, we were doing pretty well at it. Any hot takes from yourself, Nick, on Dunfermline?
No, I think it was a marked improvement. Again, I think that both the League Cup games, we did use them well as an opportunity to work on the things that we maybe that were our weaknesses. So I thought at the Kelly game, I thought Robertson looked really good in the middle. He was really aggressive. He's intercepting a lot of balls, winning a lot of duels in that. Obviously, Kilmarnock are a top flight side, and through that sort of supremacy, they were able to get the win. But I think that with the Dunfermline game, to go the 2 up, I did think there was problems with the defence. I think they had. I think when it was 0-0, they were in behind, and it was a great save for Vaj, and then they also hit the post. I think when we were 1-0 up. I can't remember if it was 1-0 or what, but I think there was a few times that we looked a bit weak at the back, but I think there was definitely an improvement. I think scoring the goals is the main thing, because that's what we've been missing. Getting the ball in the back of the net.
It's the only way you give yourself a chance to win. I mean, it's such a
simple,
obvious premise, but yeah, you don't score, you don't win. And it's been just even creating chances up until Kilmarnock and the Dunfermline game, that we created so little. So there was a definitive improvement going forward and at the back. We do obviously need to call out, we did lose from 2-0, 2-1 up with half an hour or so to go. There was individual errors, and we can't, there's no point in, everyone saw what happened for the winning goal. It's a terrible mistake, but there's no point in beating him up about it. He'll feel bad enough, and hopefully picks himself up for the next time obviously he's in the first team.
Actually, sorry, could I just say something on that?
Sure, Nick.
So, I think that if any time that was to happen, that was the game to do it, you know what I mean? It's he's a young goalkeeper. If there's not a goalkeeper in the world that hasn't had a blunder, you know what I mean? And because you're the goalkeeper, the guarder of the goal, any blunder is usually quite costly. Whereas if you're a striker or whatever and you miss like a sitter, it's not the end of the world. But
it's under the microscope, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So I've not lost any confidence in his ability whatsoever. I think he was unlucky for the penalty. The second goal is a defensive error more than anything. And
we get quite a bit flat-footed, and he's almost having to play sweeper keeper, which I don't think is probably his game. He's quite a big 6'4", he's quite a tall lad. I don't imagine he's quickest over the ground. So he was caught in no man's land, but I think it was more out of necessity than anything else. Just see another comment coming in here. So it's a wee shout out to Matthew Shields, who's a family friend of, I'm not sure who's actually commented. And he's asking how he's been performing so far. Gents, what are your thoughts overall on Matthew?
Yeah, hello CM53. Oi. I think he's been performing really well. For me, he's a strong runner. He's got a really good left foot. You can see why Rangers have kept him on. I think he's a better option than McNiff at left back. I know there was a few kind of niggling thoughts about him at Dumbarton, but I think Danny's got him playing some decent football. Still to try and figure out whether he's a fullback or a wing back. But yeah, I've got nothing really bad to say about him. I think he's done well stepping in, and remembering that he's a young lad as well. So he's obviously got time to improve.
Yeah, I think once we start, I think improvement going forward in particular, we'll see a lot more from Matthew. He seems to have a wicked cross on him from the kind of chances that we've saw him get forward. So yeah, he's a young player as well, and this is what I was touching upon earlier with the midfield. We have a lot of young players in the squad, and Matthew is just another one of those. Nick, what are your thoughts?
I really like Shields. I've actually listed in my notes the two cup games. In fact, most of the games he's played, I've noted him as one of the players that I thought has been better. I think he plays the ball about quite well. He's quite a tidy player. There's been a few times when he's like maybe like a loose pass or like a bad touch or whatever. But I think, like as you say, he's a young player, and I think like when we look at like Lennon's record with young players at the start of the season at Clyde compared to the end of the season, like look at even at Banks is the best example, obviously, but I think that the players really improve under Lennon's guidance, and I think that Shields is the perfect candidate for that. I think he's got what it takes from what I can see. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I think
I'm really positive about him.
I think Martin Brun in the comments. Hello, Martin. Hello, Darren. I think he's got a fair point. He's good as a wing back. He's aggressive. You know, I think that's a good trait to have. What do you think?
Yeah, no, absolutely. He does. He really likes to go forward, which we've not really been in control of too many matches of late to get the best out of him. From that side of his game, he's been far more reliant on being pushed back and having to do the defensive side. Now, that's not to say he won't be capable of doing that. However, we've been playing against pretty top opposition, comparable to say our league with Kelly, Dunfermline, etc. So it's been testing. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the rest of the season.
Yeah, I'd maybe put it out to the comments for the rest of this just to see who you think would be your ideal backline, either a back four or a back five. Points for discussion. So have a wee think.
Yeah. Or if you fancy taking it further, what is your starting lineup for Montrose tomorrow?
I like it, Shanks.
We will release ours on the Clyde FC Podcast Twitter tomorrow. Once we'll see what you all submit and then pick the best one and we'll go with that, because those have been hopeless, quite frankly, so far.
Yeah, so we can maybe get back to scoring some points in the Predictor League. It's sat pretty much the same since the day one.
I would quite honestly take Clyde getting some points first ahead of myself. I'll take a third place in the podcast league if it means Clyde are at the right end of the table. Come me.
I'm struggling not just to put 4-0 every game to Clyde. I have to think about it.
That's your Prince of Positivity.
Like
so just on that then, Montrose, how are we feeling?
I'm looking forward to it. I've got a wee tie. So my partner Kirsty, her hometown team was Montrose. I've brought her over to the good side of Clyde since we got together. So she'll be supporting the good guys this week, but still a fun one. I think I think it'll be a good game. I think both teams are quite level at this stage of the season. I think on paper, I think we've got the better squad, but I think playing wise to now we're maybe a wee bit similar. So yeah, last season there wasn't too much to separate us, 1 win each. There was obviously that cuffing of 4-0 up there, which I don't want to remember. It was just cold. It was horrible. Why are we going in it? But yeah, I think we push on from Dunfermline. We've scored a couple of goals. We're at home, so let's get after it and let's get those goals. Let's get that win.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Nick, how about yourself? Are you making many changes to the starting lineup, or are you as is?
I would have Lang back in if he's fit. But my big thing is I want Robertson sitting deep. But I think that overall, apart from that, I've not got many changes. But I think that we've got a chance against Montrose, really. And I feel like, I don't know, I feel like I say this, I'm jinxing this, but no, I think that we've taken, I think what's been so hard about the last couple of weeks is that we seem to go off a cliff edge after the Thistle game. Like, we had that high of the Thistle, and then we've had a run of really bad results. But as I said earlier, there's one thing that Danny Lennon, Clyde teams are good for is learning and responding to these things. So unfortunately we had a really, really good Airdrie side against us last week, and I think surely we'll alert more for that. So I think we should be going in looking positively. They've obviously got a lot of good players, and then they brought in Harry Cochrane, who obviously
that's a cracking signing for them.
Yeah. It's unbelievable. But
you know what you're going to get
for them as well.
Yeah, they're very structured, Montrose. They're very, very, very well drilled. They like their wing play. They get their wing backs bombing forward at all chance. I think is it Ballantyne at the right back. I may be getting the name completely wrong.
Yeah.
He's always impressed me, even though I can't remember his name. They're always
the number
two. The number two. He's always impressed me, and it's the key to that match is being able to nullify Montrose down the wings. If we can do that, we'll certainly give ourselves a good footing in the game. Just quickly then, before we move on, I think it's a point that you either yourself, Boise, might have touched upon, to do with the fans or the lack of fans and the impact that's having in the current rough run of poor form. Do you think that we suffer from no fans more than the other teams in the league, given that we do have a very vocal and great vocal support?
Hi Dean. Going on the point I made at the start of the podcast, don't know if you were in or not, but I think we do suffer a wee bit from not having fans, and the players have said themselves that the fans are a big part of how they come back from games when they're down. And I think that, we just need them back. We need to be back cheering our boys on. What do you boys think?
I agree completely. I think that that we always have a very vocal support, but then in terms of a number of teams in this league, we also do have quite a large support. I think that is all part of this. It's like I don't want to talk down other teams, but I mean, like, you go to some grounds and they are relatively quiet and they're not so busy. I think that, I don't know, for that reason, I'm just trying to say that I think that as you said, Boise, there's a genuine impact there. It's not just a case of players playing lip service, like to the fans and saying, "Oh yeah, like it's nothing about the fans." It's like, I think there is definitely. It's not just a case of in the ground, but I think there's actually quite a good social link between the players and the fans, and especially between the fans and Danny Lennon. So yeah, I think it is. I don't think it's causing us issues, but I think it's a loss, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen over the past few seasons with Danny in that the boys are really good in the area with everyone, and they genuinely seem to have a connection with the fans in the same way, back the way. So, yeah, I think we just need to get back in. When that'll be, I don't know, but going on the main point, I think it is having an issue, and yeah, hold it back soon.
Yeah, but completely agree, obviously, with what you're saying, boys. The fans do help change matches. As odd as that sounds, we don't kick our head in a single ball during the game, but I do think that there's been matches that Clyde fans have pretty much turned around how the match has played out. So yeah, I would say the quicker we are back, the better for the team, but at the same time, it's the boys still need to deliver on the park. Just actually, before we move on to the Annan game, I just want to, just on fans, there's been quite a few unfortunate updates recently on the website, and I would just like to mention a few people who have sadly passed on this week related to Clyde. So we have John Greenhorn, who many of you will know from the Aria Lounge, Clyde fan Scott McFarlane, and also we lost a former club stalwart, John Donnelly, last week as well. So just like to say, obviously, all our thoughts are with your friends and families if you are listening or do listen in the future. So moving on, we put out a wee tweet, or John put out a wee tweet, I should say, asking fans to vote on the next match, or the first match, sorry, that we would look back on from the past. And I'm quite pleased with the outcome. It was a mass election. And you have voted for the playoff final victory from the 18th of May 2019, a date that many Clyde fans have waited, got the best part of 2 decades for to happen. A playoff victory that ended up in promotion to League One. I'll run through the starting lineup from that day, who obviously go down as legends in our eyes.
Hang on,
the starting lineup.
Prepare myself here.
You ready? Got a tear in your eye. So we lined up that day was Curry, Cudahy, McNiff, Lang, Rumsby, Grant, Lamont, McStay, Goodwillie, Sivertson, and Banks. And our used subs were Nicol, Love, and Duffy. So there was 2,725 people in attendance that day. If only we could get crowds like that week in, week out.
It felt like 50,000.
It did. We'll roll back to before the game. How confident were you ahead of it, given that we were facing a deficit thanks to current Clyde player Chris Johnson?
Yeah, we had travelled down to the Annan game, and it was probably one of the more nervy Annan aways I've ever been to midweek. The flags were out in force. There's a very famous photo with me and you in it.
Famous?
It's great.
I wouldn't say it's famous.
Famous
just
because
you've got it as your WhatsApp photo doesn't make it famous, boys.
Well, agree to disagree. But yeah, the flags were out. You know, the Clyde faithful were out in force, and it's not the result we wanted, but I knew that we could turn it round, and I'm so glad we did, because what a day. You know, from the lead up of it, the anticipation, getting into the ground, seeing that amount of people in the stadium, it's stunning, amazing. Words fail me.
Yeah, Nick, what about yourself? And were you confident of overturning the deficit in 90 minutes? Or
no, I felt sick, honestly. In fact, not even after the McNichol, and after the penalty and stuff like that, I felt unwell the whole time. I felt after that, see when Goodwillie missed the penalty against Annan, if we'd went 1-0 up with that penalty, right, I'd have been like, right, we're cruising. But when you missed that, and then with Johnston able to smuggle that one in, I was like, oh no, like here we go. Like it's a bit like when Serbia equalised against Scotland. You're like, oh, like
I've seen this one before.
I think there was a few rumours that Johnston was maybe signing with us at the time, and you just want to shout to him, "What are you doing?"
It's a perfectly good car park behind us that you could have put that in.
That's it.
But there's they I think actually to say I wasn't like not confident. I was confident in the ability of the players, but there's always that lingering like creeping doubt that like, especially because the team. I think what made me so nervous is because the team and the management we had was so good. I'm like that. If we don't do it with this team,
when will we?
Management, when will we ever? And are we just going to be resigned to staying down? Because the
quick side note, same management duo we've got just now. The mindset should be the same.
No, I agree. That's why I always believe in Danny we trust. Should be the new tag.
Danny we trust. There we go.
That's it.
I can't deviate from what you boys were saying. Please let us know your kind of stories and memories from the day in the comments, folks. Get involved. We'll be happy to read them out as long as we don't need to censor them. Especially when it comes to the aftermath and the celebrations, which I'm sure we'll come to in time as well. So on the match itself, I don't think it's fair to say that for 90 minutes, we absolutely dominated that game of football in a way that it's been a long time since I've seen a Clyde team dominate a game under a fair amount of pressure, obviously, with what was at stake, in the way that we did.
Yeah, I think it was a good performance. Obviously, the nerves were there.
I think it was better than good, Boise. I think it was up there with our top three of that season alone, and we had some really good performances in that.
Yeah, I think because it was Annan as well, we had a wee extra edge because a few games previous there was the whole Broadwood debacle.
Yeah,
the controversial red card of Blair Curry, shall we say?
Yeah, and Martin McNiff's 93rd minute winner. But we can maybe cover that in a different match. Let's focus on this one. This one was good enough. What do you say with that one? We'll put that in a different poll.
That's fine. Let's do it.
But yeah, so the first half, I think the man of the match for either team in the first half is Annan's goalkeeper Alex Mitchell even, who made a number of fantastic saves to keep out Sivertson pretty early doors. I think a couple of long-ranged efforts from Scott Banks. I think they hit the woodwork as well. Might be getting mixed up with the semi-final against Edinburgh, but yeah, I mean, it was just one-way traffic all the way. I think they had one shot that flashed wide, possibly Tony Wallace.
Yeah, Tony Wallace. One wide. My heart stopped.
Yeah. But until the second half, and as the second half went on, they never really done anything else in the first half. As I say, it was all one way. It did have that feeling of, is this goal going to come? I don't know about you guys, but I was beginning to think, there was obviously game management, shall we call it, without obviously being controversial. Annan were slowing the game down, much to everyone's annoyance, on and off the pitch. And it just felt like, this is just going to be one of those days. Yeah,
especially with the keeper being in form as well. We're just thinking, are we going to get that goal?
He's going to have one of these games where his hands are like magnets, and he's just going to swat everything away. Martin Brown again just makes a very good point. It was a very professional performance.
Definitely, yeah.
And I think when you look at some individual players in there, Chris Sivertson, Scott Banks, who was phenomenal that day, 17-year-old, it was just sensational. I don't know if maybe just singling him out too much for what was an overall great performance. But if there was maybe one key to unlocking Annan that day was Scott Banks.
Yeah, definitely. I think as soon as he came in, everyone could see that he had that star quality. And that was highlighted in the playoff final we're discussing. And, fair play to the lad. He's made a big move down south and he's doing well. And in the future, I'd definitely like to see him out in that left or right wing for Scotland. So
I thought you were going to say back at Clyde, but okay, we'll go with that.
I'd take him. Oh, him or Cunningham. I don't know. Leave it with me.
Nick, what about yourself? Who was your man of the match, if you can remember? Individual performance, or was it a blur?
It was all about a blur. Actually, do you know what? Maybe one of my favourite Clyde players ever now is McNiff. I know he's obviously scored the goal and stuff like that, but I did think the back line was pretty solid that day. And Christian Nadi, like, he might not be the fastest player, but he's a great target man, stuff like that.
Yeah.
He can bully defenders quite easily, and he caused us every time he played against us. He caused us massive problems. I thought, like he probably caused most people. Annan were pretty formidable that season, and so I don't know. It's difficult to choose. I would maybe say Mark McNiff or Ali Love, just purely for the goals. And just
controversial to give man of the match to someone who played 22 minutes.
I know, but to step up and to take the ball and put the ball down the spot and to take that penalty with the magnitude of that occasion, and then with all of that considered, to put it straight down the middle.
Yeah,
it's just it was unbelievable. I ended up like 2 rows down or something like that. I was like, just went mental, flew forward.
Yeah, I think for me, the man of the match, it's got to be Ali Love. Like 22 minutes on the park, but hours of content after. Just fantastic. Yeah, absolute legend stepping up, hitting that penalty, especially when a talisman like Goodwilly's not on the pitch and someone's got to step up. And I think I speak for all Clyde fans when I say I'm glad Ali Love did.
No, absolutely. So it did take us 60 minutes to break the deadlock, and when it did come, it came from Martin Goals McNiff, who scored, I think was that his 13th or 14th for that season from left back.
44, was it?
I'm sure he beat Messi's calendar year record at one point as well. He came up with massive goals throughout the season, and that was just yet another one. I wouldn't say it was a stramash. There was a fair bit of skill from Chris Ederson at the edge of the box. Took on a couple of players, got the ball out, and then I think it came to Goody, who I think it was a shot. It wasn't possibly his best, well struck, that then broke to Martin to sweep it home from 6 yards out. What a feeling that was. It was just a relief more than anything else.
Yeah.
Boys, there was absolute bedlam down at the front of the stand. I think the entire top right section, the kind of Glasgow branch, I think every last one of them to a man was down the front.
I think that's the word I would definitely use, relief. As soon as that went in, I knew we were going to win it. I just knew the flow of the game, the way the boys wanted it.
We just needed that one
only
goal.
One
the second we got the one, as you say, there was only one winner there.
The lovely thing for me that day was, if you've been to Clyde games, everyone will know that all the singing takes place in the choir up the top right.
Yeah.
There was songs going all the way down the stand that day.
Yeah. And there was neutrals. I mean, obviously there was a fair amount of neutrals there that day. I know quite a few friends that aren't Clyde fans that came and they loved it. They absolutely loved it.
I had brought a few of my
father-in-law
well.
and a few of his pals were down, and they thought it was fantastic. Just back on the match, Martin Brun mentions it as well here about Goody having to limp off with his ankle injury. That was after 68 minutes. Now, little did we know that would be the moment that we would win the playoff final when Ali Love came on the pitch.
Who'd have thought it?
Who would have thought that? The talisman off the park, and it was what eventually got us over the line. The penalty decision, at the time, I'll be honest, I thought it was soft. But
We'll take it.
When you see it from the other angle, I think there appears to be a definite push. It was silly, I think, in Swinglehurst's part. Don't think Ali was getting the ball, but hey, he done it. We got it. And yeah, Nick, you want to take it from there? Your memories of the penalty kick?
I remember just thinking to myself, the keeper's going to save this. Nothing good happens to us. Like, I honestly, I was just at that. I was like, oh no, and then I'd moved up. So the first half, I'd watched down the far side where we were shooting, and then I'd moved up and I was standing up the Glasgow branch and stuff. And I remember like there's a few folk taller than me, so I'm like I was having to crane a wee bit to see, and I just remember the ball just going up the back of the net, and after that it was just pandemonium. I couldn't believe it. You know what I mean? It was euphoric to say the least.
Yeah, please get involved, folks, if you are watching. Hopefully you're still watching, on the comments, and let us know what you remember from the match. Yeah, Martin, we agree. Martin Brown's flying the flag here in the comments. So get involved, folks. Let us know what you thought of that game. So we did have a heart in the mouth moment towards the end of the game. I don't know if you remember it, where the ball broke to the back post and there was a header. How many people needed to change underwear after that? It was just me.
No, I think there was a few of us, wasn't there? Yeah, heart and mouth stuff. But listen, when you're winning a final and the other team's pressing, you're going to sit back deep and you're going to get these things, and you've just got to ride it out and your centre halves and your goalie to deal with it. And that's what. Well, we didn't have to deal with them. It was a header over the bar, but yeah, the last few minutes. Well, I've got them in live stream on my Facebook if anyone wants to relive them. But the phone was out after the penalty for the last 5, and I just remember going down to the front with like 2 seconds left, and the ref blowing the whistle. And I don't think I've ran as fast in my life. I believe you can just hear me scream Rumsby and make a beeline for him.
The scenes are memorable. Obviously, every lap, not just for those that were on the pitch, as there were many, but those looking up from the pitch to the stands and seeing what it meant to Clyde fans, young and old. It had been 19 years since Clyde had been promoted, and in that time, yes, there's been some significant highs. You've obviously got the Celtic Cup game. There's a couple other big matches against Thistle that we won, etc. So the big thing for me was that we had suffered so much in that intermittent period, and especially over the last 10 years building up to that there's probably quite a few Clyde fans that thought, are we ever going to get out of League Two? Are we? And then when that whistle went, that realisation that the last 10 years of hurt and just pain was gone, and it was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. The celebrations thereafter, not just on the pitch, but obviously they went long into the night. I assume for many people. Who wants to take it first, Nick? What did you get up to after? Keep it clean, please.
I headed back to East Kilbride, my dad and some of the boys we got to football with there, and we straight down the pub, and I don't really know much after that. A minute ago, but no, I think it was just a lot of it was actually, I felt after it was just there was a state of like disbelief. It was the same. It was the same way after Marshall saved that penalty last Thursday. I'm just like, after a minute, I'm like,
yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, just there's that sort of like, is this really happening? And then obviously once I got to the pub and everyone's still like celebrating and stuff like that, it was unbelievable. The whole night was fantastic. The whole day was just unbelievable. And it's one of those ones as well.
Yeah.
You can relive it. See with the 20-minute highlights on the YouTube, you can relive it every single.
That's some highlights package. That's amazing.
Yeah, I've watched our highlights package. I've watched Annan's highlights package. You probably wouldn't like me admitting that, but yeah, I think there was a comment. It was possibly my wife actually that mentioned it, that at that last gasp header over the bar, there was the Annan videographer. You can hear him just trying his best not to swear as the ball cleared the bar, and you don't like taking enjoyment out of other people's pain because it could easily be us. But yeah, it's always something I remember watching about God knows how many times. Kyle Albuckle mentioning Scott Banks, who was probably one of, if not the only player in the playoff winning team that wasn't allowed to go out because he wasn't old enough to drink. Given how good he was, to put that wee bit of perspective in it, he wasn't allowed to truly enjoy the night, at least legally. So, yeah, a fantastic player. And obviously he's got his big move now to Crystal Palace. By all accounts, he seems to be on the cusp of maybe even flirting with the fringes of the first team, which, again, good luck to him. And bodes well for us as well. We can at least say we've helped in his development. He's got all the talent there, but we helped develop it.
Yeah, it's no surprise to see where he's gotten. I mean, that playoff final, I took a good few friends that had been to a few Clyde matches. I think my total of bringing folk to games is maybe up at 7 or 8, so you're welcome. But yeah, they were mentioning that who's that boy there? Is he a Clyde player? No, he's on loan for United. But
he's still a Clyde player.
He's just a standout. It's still a Clyde player, yeah. But for my recollection of that night, it was straight on the train into town for some responsible drinking. Well, we had the fans versus fans game the next day. What was that?
Was that an R responsible drinking? I think was probably closer, but yes, it should have been responsible drinking.
Yeah, it should have been. As I was saying, there was a fans versus fans game the next day. With a 12 o'clock kickoff. Now, somehow, I've just got to applaud everyone that made that game.
Fantastic effort. Considering that you had passed out in my hallway until 6:30, then 6:30 a.m. I should say, then yeah.
I'm not sure that was me, as I said, responsible drinking, Paul. But no, what a night. And as Alistair Sloss has mentioned, all right, Ali, the players came out into the winds in Glasgow, and that was some moment, just partying with the heroes for the season, singing all their songs, and yeah,
the boys deserved it. That's it. I mean,
yeah,
I know we've maybe taken a bit and going, us as fans have been through so much, but the players had a tough season at times, given what happened, obviously with the points deduction. We went from looking so strong at a title challenge to looking pretty far-fetched. And for the boys to take the title to the last game in the first place, to then put in the performances over the 4 playoff matches was sensational. We fully deserved to be promoted. And it was the boys that done it. They deserved that night as much as we did. Yeah,
it's one of the best seasons I've seen us play, like just win after win after win. You're not used to it. It's one of those seasons you just expect to derail and it all falls to pieces, but we just kept winning.
So one defeat at least on the pitch in 90 minutes.
Did we not have
25 games?
Did we not beat an unbeaten run record as well?
Yeah, you need to dig that out. I thought
it was like 16, 17 games.
Yeah,
right, well, I'll look it up now. But yeah, do you remember much of that fans versus fans game, Paul? There's a cracking photo. I was going for the ball with the ref in the middle. I don't know who came out on top in that 50-50. I think we both lost.
Comment.
Really.
No comment. If football lost that day, considering that I was in the pitch.
Yeah.
But Ray Grant, some dancer. and Kev Nicol can carry a tune. Alice Loss is stating. So
no surprise there.
we're hopeful we're getting some past players on the podcast going forward. So we'll maybe see what Kev's up to, see if he'll give us a wee song.
It's maybe a good opportunity in the live stream. Who would you like to see on the podcast? And we'll try our best to get them on. We've got a few ideas, but
current player,
put your input.
Obviously members of staff as well involved in that. We won't, but we might do it live. It depends if the players are up for it. If the club are happy for them doing live interviews, then we'll certainly facilitate that. So, anything else, boys? Or you want to wrap it up?
Just one thing actually on the Scott Banks thing. After all, like the people he's rubbing shoulders with now, like world class players like Wilfred Zaha and whatnot, he's still got his cover photo on Twitter as the exact picture that we've got as our background here, the player celebrations, stuff like that. So I think that of all things, like he also like is not only was he a fantastic player, but I think Banks really enjoyed himself at Clyde. And then you never know, maybe when he's 32, 33, after he's like won the Euros or something with Scotland, come back.
4th Ballon d'Or.
Yeah, it would be nice to see some ex-Clyde players finish their careers. That is.
Well, we've got a long list on that. Absolutely.
Alistair makes a very good point.
You care to explain yourself on that?
On the season. So I was mentioning that it was a fantastic season and we hadn't had anything like it before. So if we're wanting to win the league, me and Alistair had a very long chat and we decided to skip the day part of a wedding to the Cowdenbeath game. That's how much it meant. And would Clyde fans do the same?
Absolutely.
I don't know. But we did it. We did it.
Yeah. I would be questioning my choices of friends if I booked a wedding football season, but that's just me personally. I'm still raging at Rangers. I missed a 2-1 home victory against Dunfermline on my wedding day, and I was far from pleased. So
it's maybe the last time we beat them, eh?
Very true. So, folks, please keep an eye on the Clyde FC Podcast Twitter account. We will get a couple of ideas out there as to what we do going forward, what we discuss. We want this to be as interactive as possible. We want you guys to... we are just fans. It's as simple as that, in the same way that you guys are. We want your involvement. We want your discussion points. And interact with us all the way going forward. As the motto is, your club, be part of it. And this is just another way of doing exactly that. So we'll see if we can maybe get a wee interview lined up and we'll let you know who it is. And yeah, until next time, folks, come on the Clyde.
On the Bully Way.
On the Clyde.